Welcome back to Tolstoy Academy students. Today we are going to discuss about the UPSC exam pattern and the syllabus. There is UPSC Civil Service examination having three levels of the or three stages of examination. The first is the preliminary, and second is the mains, and third is the personality test. Preliminary level exam is objective test, like we want to share our answers in the OMR. There is an objective test, and mains level exam is the description manner. The mains level exam is a description manner. We want to write the answers for relevant asked questions in a conceptual way. And the last level is the personality test. And please make sure the UPSC will never check your core knowledge, or they will never check your knowledge there. Knowledge checking was already completed in mains and preliminary level of examinations. In personality test, they will check your about the attitude, the characters, the truthness. About these qualities, they will check you in the personality test. They will never check about your core knowledge or some other kind of like even they will check you about the hobbies also. How truthful to the board you are. That is the primary things will be happen in the personality test. And if you come for the mark wise, the preliminary stage was the qualifying stage. They will not consider that mark for the total cutoff marks. For example, you will be writing your mains exam for the 1750 marks, and the personality interview, there is a personality test, will be for 275 marks. So it was totally 1750 plus 275. 2025 marks you are writing for the civil service examinations, and cutoff will be based on, and ranking will be based on the 2025 marks. The PRELIMS mark will not be considered for this cutoff. So the preliminary exam is just a qualifying exam. And if you come for the preliminary exam, we are having the two stages in preliminary exam. One is the general studies, and the second is the CSAT. So CSAT is civil service aptitude test. And general studies, they will cover mostly 8 subjects like history, geography, society, economics, science and technology, and environment, contemporary matters. So these will be covered in the general studies part. And we are going to discuss in the continuous class, we are going to discuss about each weightage of the subject also. How many questions they are generally asking in each year, the variation was happening. We will discuss in the same continuous class also. So this is about the exam pattern. The main stage and the personality test stage is the most important, that decide our which service we will be getting. Nearly we are having 21 services in the civil service exam, like All India Service 3, IAS, IPS and IFS, that is Indian Forest Service. Indian Foreign Service will not come under the All India Service. IFS, Indian Forest Service, Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service. These 3 services will come under the All India Service, and we are having the other Group A service, Central Government Group A service, and the Union Territory Group A service, like a Pondicherry Civil Service, Pondicherry police service, and we are having the other union territory group A service also, or services also. So this was nearly 21 services are recruited under the UPSC civil service examination. So the postings and the power, that is the postings and the rank will be based on the cutoff, how much we are getting out of 2025 marks. So now we will go for the preliminary exam subject wise weightage and the so preliminary level, as we mentioned, discussed already, this is the objective, and you will be sharing your answers in the OMR sheet. The first and foremost important subject, history of India, and very specifically the UPSC mentioned modern history. So we want to be very careful in that syllabus, modern history. Why again I am very specifically telling, history we are having three divisions. One is the ancient history, medieval history and modern history. Modern history means which is starting from the (17th) century onwards, that is after the coming of Europeans. So why I am very specific means, because they used to learn, they used to do hard work, but they want to understand the syllabus first, because great time they are using for the preparation, they want to understand syllabus first. So coming of the Europeans, that is from the 17th century onwards only syllabus for the preliminary in UPSC level, it is not before that one. And here also the second category, that is within the history of India, the more focused will be given to the part of Indian national movement, that is starting from the 19th century events. So more focus. So more focus means definitely maximum 2 or 3 question will be from the Indian national movement in the history part. That is why they given very specifically, you want to read the Indian national movement topic very thoroughly. So Indian national movement topic is starting from the 19th century. So exactly we can mention the 1857 also, the great what event happened in 1857 is the first war of independence, and that is also called the Great Revolt. The Great Revolt. So this is the most primary subject. We want to give more weightage for the history chapter. So how many questions, like out of 80 questions, totally you will be having 80 questions in the preliminary level. And the most important message we want to understand from preliminary level is we are having negative marks. So what is that negative marks means? If you write one question wrong answer, so 0.33 mark will be deducted from your overall mark. So we are having each question negative mark. So we want to be very careful in marking our answers. Even if you do some silly mistake like shading a wrong answer, wrong options in the OMR also, that will be considered as a negative marking only. So we want to be very carefully and very carefully we want to mark the shading, we want to shade the answers. And out of 80 questions, how many questions we can expect from the history? It is as from the 2017 trend we are observing, out of 80 questions, it was nearly 9 to 10 questions we can expect from the history. This was included art and culture also. We are having the another part of another subtopic in the history, that is art and culture. Maximum they will ask 3 questions or 2 questions from the art and culture. So the average was, we can expect 10 questions from the history. So each question carries 2 marks. So 20 marks, we are having a good weightage in the history. And preparing history is a easy thing or a difficult thing. If you ask me, means I will be telling easy thing. Why I used to tell easy thing means, history is a very factual, informative subject. There is not a dynamic. It will never change. The events will never change. The events are explaining what has happened in the past. Yes, of course, we want to remember some years very precisely. We want to understand about century. We want to know about the names of very large number of past rulers. Yes, we want to do. But compare with other dynamic subject like economics or like subject like a society or a subject like a geography, spending time in history is a very good and also very useful for our getting the marks. So next we will go for the next second subject of the weightage. Geography of world and India. So this was the second important subject we want to focus for our preliminary level. Again here also they mentioned clearly, we want to very good in both world geography and Indian geography, and this is both the classification. We want to good in both physical geography and we want to good in both human geography. And in subsequent classes we will be dealing about the what is the physical geography and what is the human geography in elaborate manner, and we will look those topics in our geography classes. So geography along with map questions, we can expect the questions around 7 to 9 in the UPSC preliminary. So again here the map is most important. Yearly there will be one question with respect to the river system, or with respect to the mountain system, or with respect to the resource distribution systems. So we want to be very sure about the map, and we want to be very good in the atlas. And what is the another important dynamic system is adding here is contemporary matters. So contemporary matters means it is nothing current affairs. So you want to be very good in the current affairs in relevant geographical topics like resource distributions or the, and recent example I can give. So we are all speaking about the recent activity July 13, what happened in the Kerala state Wayanad districts. It was a great landslide disaster, and there is a lot of geographical science reasons behind those disaster and events. So geography of the world and India, we want to focus both physical geographical and human geographical, and along with the map questions. The expected weightage is around some 7 to 9. And next we will be moving to our next weightage subject in the preliminary is about science and technology. And here is the most important thing. No basic science. So in science and technology means the basic science will not be covered. What is covered here is application oriented science. That is, in what way we are using the science technology in our day-to-day life, how the science is helpful for the people development, how the science is helpful for the wildlife conservation, how the science is helpful for the water conservation, how the science is helpful for the protection of environment. So here the focus is about application. The basic science will not be considered here. Basic science means like a chemical elements or the chemical organic compounds, or if you speak about the light matters, or if you speak about the optical matters. So those basic science will not be covered here. Here is covered with the application oriented. For example, we all people know telescope, and who invented the telescope we come to know. So for what are all purpose nowadays we are using the telescope, even in space science or even in our school education system. What is the purpose of those telescope? How accurately the telescope is giving us the knowledge. So this is like a application oriented. And nowadays we are all using the smartphones and the gadgets, electronic gadgets and everything, right? So how this the semiconductor chips, how the semiconductor chips are useful for those electronic gadgets and how that is helping for the people development. So this is about the application oriented. Here we will not discuss, that is UPSC will never ask questions about the basic science. So you also during like, and most important, which is plays a greater role in the science and technology questions means the current affairs plays a greater role in the science and technology. And we are having the scientific research institute also, like we are having the institute like ISRO, we are having the institute like ICAR, and we are having the institute like National Institute of Wind Energy. So we are having so much of scientific research institutes, they are working, and even IISC, Indian Institute of Science, ISSC. So we are having so many science institutes in our country that was equivalent to the world level, they are equal to the world level education system. They are working on the research and their application methods. And again, if you come to the mark weightage in science and technology questions means along with the current affairs, so this will be having around 10 to 11 questions. So year by split up questions will be covered in our upcoming classes, like 2023, how many questions from the history, how many questions from geography, and each subject will be covered in our respective upcoming classes. I am just telling the average questions here, like 10 to 11 questions. Like if you see 2017 and 18, that 2 years, nearly 22 questions from the science and technologies. So even the aspirants are get shocked, that much of like nearly 40% of the question from one subject means they really get shocked, aspirants. So we are having that much of questions also asked in 2017 and 18, and generally the average number of questions are 10 to 11 questions we can expect from the science and technology. And next we are going to discuss about the one of the great vast syllabus in UPSC, and also one of the most interesting syllabus in UPSC, and the most relevant subject for our as a citizen of the country, that is so polity, or sometimes they used to call that is subject as political science. So Indian polity, Indian political science. So if you come to the preliminary level, they will not consider for the conceptual areas, like they will not ask questions about the constitutional amendments provisions, but they will ask questions about the factual informations like articles, fundamental rights, and the constitutional amendment year, and what was the money bill, like a budget, parliament sessions. So it was nearly, the questions will focus on the institutions. So institution means like a prime minister, president, governor, parliament, functions of the parliament, And again, if you go for means constitutional bodies, scheduled languages, fundamental rights, fundamental duties, directive principles of state policies. So these are the major areas they focus on the preliminary, and these topics they will focus on factual questions, they will not focus on conceptual questions. Conceptual questions and debate questions will be focused on mains level, that is the discussions will be on the mains level of examination, not on the preliminary level of examination. And again here also, which one will plays a greater role in our preparation? Of course we want to add the current affairs. Why? Because political science is not a static subject, it was a most dynamic subject. Like a dynamic means it will not keep on in the same manner, it will be keep on updating. So it will be day to day, that will be keep on updating. And if you see last some 3 to 4 years, in which section of Indian political science they are focusing larger number of questions, they are focusing on the governor's powers, and they are focusing on the president powers, and they are focusing on the functions of the parliament. So these are the very recent past 3 to 4 years recent question weightage areas. Why? Again, the reason is there. Why again means the governor is agents between the central government and state government. Often there is a problem between the function of governor and the function of state chief minister. So you take an example of Kerala state, you take the example of Tamil Nadu state, you take the example of West Bengal state. Always there is a problem between the one state chief minister and the governor, and that was the reason they are focusing on governor functioning and what is the constitutional powers the governor can enjoy, and how the governor can pass a bill, what is the roles and responsibilities of governor. So the reasons are many, they are focusing on the questions. Of course they focused large in fundamental rights, but see the last 3 to 4 years of question pattern, we don't have that much of fundamental rights questions, but these areas are largely